And before I turn the meeting over to Carol, who has a PowerPoint presentation that she's going to walk us through, I just wanted to note that if you have already submitted written comments to us in response to the noticing for this meeting, I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we have received those comments and we are cataloging them, and we have made sure that you've been added to our mailing list moving forward. We have definitely cataloged all of that information to date. I also wanted to note that this is not the one and only time to comment on this project. Moving forward, we will be accepting comments throughout the life of the project. And so if you have comments along the way, feel free to reach out and contact us, and we'll be sharing that how best to contact us in the slides of the presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Carol, who's going to start the PowerPoint.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. This is the PowerPoint for the Jesuit High School Stadium Lighting Project Environmental Impact Report. The control number is PLNP2021-00262. I'm Carol Gregory, Associate Environmental Analyst, and I will be the person preparing the environmental impact report for this project. Also in the Zoom meeting from the Sacramento County Planning and Environmental Review is Rebecca Boucher, Associate Environmental Analyst. You heard Meg DeCursey, Senior Planner. She introduced the meeting. We also have on the Zoom meeting Kimber Gutierrez, who's the project manager, and then we have Todd Smith, who's the planning director. The agenda and rules for this meeting are as follows. I'm going to be giving a brief PowerPoint presentation on the project and the CEQA process. After my presentation, we will have a comment and question period. If you would like to speak after the presentation, if you can please respond in the chat feature with your name, that would be helpful. If anyone is participating via phone only, please wait for an invitation to those on the phone only to speak. And if there are several speakers who wish to participate, which we do have several speakers, several people in the meeting, comments and questions may be limited to 3 minutes, so we have a 2-hour block. And also please indicate when commenting if you would like to be added to the mailing list for this project. So the purpose of this meeting is to, again, gather input for the environmental impact report. Questions regarding the meeting purpose are: what environmental topics should be our focus? What alternatives and mitigation measures should we consider with the project? And especially what concerns regarding the potential impacts of the proposed project shall we document? And again, public comment that we receive during this meeting will be used to develop the scope of the EIR. This slide just shows an overview of the CEQA process. Again, we are in the very early stages of this project. A notice of preparation was prepared and sent, and it was sent out end of October. As you'll see here with the red arrow, we are currently in the scoping meeting stage. We had an agency scoping meeting last month, and then we're having the public scoping meeting today. After the scoping meetings, we will be reviewing and evaluating the scoping comments, and then preparing the draft EIR, looking at the time frame of winter, early spring 2023. After that, there will be a public and agency review period of the draft EIR, which is a 45-day period. We will then have a public meeting on the draft EIR, looking preliminary at summer 2023. And from that meeting, we'll be preparing a final EIR, including a response to comments received from the draft EIR. And then lastly, looking at the Planning Commission hearing in late summer 2023. So this is just a brief overview of the process for the environmental impact report. And again, as I mentioned, we're in the very early stages of the process, still gathering input. So project overview, the project site is located in the Carmichael community. It's located on the Jesuit High School campus. The parcel is on the north side of American River Drive, west side of Jacob Lane, and east side of Piccadilly Circle. The parcel size in total is 20.22 acres, and it's the location of Jesuit High School's sports facilities. The project summary includes the proposal for 4 permanent stadium light poles at Marauder Stadium, as well as additional code compliant lighting for bleachers and pedestrian pathways of the stadium. The project entitlement request from the planning side will include a use permit amendment to allow the stadium lighting on the Jesuit High School athletic field, which is zoned RD4, residential 4 zoning district. The request also includes a design review entitlement to determine substantial compliance with the Sacramento County countywide design guidelines. This slide here just shows an aerial of the project site. The subject parcel that's part of the request is highlighted in red here. And again, this is the site of Jesuit's sporting facilities, notably Jesuit's Marauder Stadium. And then to the north is Jesuit's main campus. So the project description includes 2 of the light poles that will be located at the north side of the stadium would be 100 feet high. The other 2 light poles located on the south side of the stadium would be 90 feet high. The proposed light poles will have LED lights affixed to the top and will be located at the 10-yard lines of the football field. The surrounding land uses are all single-family residential that are zoned RD4. Notably, the American River Parkway is approximately 0.3 miles from the project site, as well as Rio Americano High School is approximately 0.2 miles from the project site. This is a slide showing the preliminary site plan. And as you can see here on the slide, you'll see the track in the field and Marauder Stadium. I've noted here in the red star is the approximate location for the 4 permanent stadium light poles on the site plan there. And these are just representative photographs of the project site. The first photo to the left is the north side of the stadium looking southwest. The second photo to the right is the north side of the stadium looking southeast. And the next slide here shows additional photos, view from the football field looking northeast. And the photo to the right is the south side of the stadium looking west. So I want to go over the project objectives that were outlined in the NOP. And I also want to note that these were provided by the project applicant. And we look at the project objectives as part of the CEQA alternatives when we prepare the EIR. So that's why they're included here. So the project objectives include to provide a feasible location at which to increase athletic opportunities for Jesuit high school students by hosting on-campus sport competitions during evening hours. Second objective provided by the applicant is to allow for athletic practices and competition to occur after the peak afternoon hours during times with more favorable weather conditions to protect the health and safety of students, athletes, coaches, and spectators. Third, to provide sufficient time, particularly for fall and winter sports, to train and compete without requiring student athletes to miss excessive classroom instruction multiple times per month. Fourth, to spread on-campus activities over a broader period of time to reduce the number of individuals and vehicles concurrently utilizing school facilities. Fifth, to enhance the overall high school athletic experience for students, parents, alumni, and the Sacramento community. And sixth, to continue to build upon Jesuit's reputation for athletic excellence by providing facilities that allow athletes to achieve peak performance. And again, I want to reiterate these objectives were provided by the project applicant. So the content of the EIR will include the following chapters as required by law. We will have an executive summary, an introduction, project description, setting, impacts and mitigation measures, alternatives analysis, cumulative impacts, and other CEQA required topics. Additional EIR topics that are going to be included in the EIR, their preliminary list here, are aesthetics and visual resources. And with the aesthetics and visual resources chapter, the existing visual character would be described to provide a baseline against which the proposed project changes and resulting visual effects can be gauged. And this will include visual depictions of the site with representative photos from several vantage points, including public views. Second on the list here is looking at air quality and greenhouse gas emissions. And this chapter will include an analysis which will examine both emissions related to construction emissions and operation emissions. And staff will calculate both emissions looking at the California emissions estimator model, CaliMod. Third on the list here is evaluating biological resources with the biological resources chapter. Notably, as I mentioned before, the site is in close proximity to the American River Parkway, also within a very established, mature neighborhood. The biological resources chapter will focus on potential impacts of special status species, as well as neighborhood and local wildlife, and whether the proposed project would have substantial adverse effects directly or through habitat modifications. We'll also be doing a chapter on cultural and tribal cultural resources, as well as hydrology and water quality and land use. There also will be a chapter on noise. The noise chapter will analyze by reviewing the existing daytime noise at the project site and surrounding area to determine the noise baseline and compliance with county noise standards. Potential noise impacts that will be evaluated from the proposed project include crowd noise, PA system, and other noise sources from nighttime sporting events, practices, and school activities. Next on the list is the traffic and vehicle miles traveled section. And this analysis will review impacts of the project on vehicle miles traveled and related to any traffic hazards that may result from implementation of the project. A VMT analysis is being prepared as well as a local transportation analysis. And other chapters that will be included in the EIR will include energy and public services. Again, so the scoping comments that we received today, the verbal input we received today, will be reflected and addressed in the EIR as appropriate. Just important to note that any relevant comments in preparation for the EIR include potentially significant environmental impacts, possible ways to mitigate environmental impacts, alternatives to the project that reduce or minimize impacts, or other concerns that relate to adverse environmental consequences. Important to note that comments strictly concerning the merits of the project are not applicable to the EIR if there is no related environmental effect, but these comments are important and we are forwarding them to the planning staff for inclusion in the planning staff report. So the comment period for the NOP ended on November 28th, 2022. But again, I want to reiterate and note that the county is going to be accepting comments throughout the preparation of the EIR. The slide you saw in the beginning that showed the process for CEQA, again, there's plenty of time to comment on the EIR, and we are accepting comments throughout the entire process. Written comments can be submitted to Joelle Inman, Environmental Coordinator, at the address shown here on the slide, or via email at sequa@saccounty.net. And we just also want to note in response to the advertisement on the NOP, the comments we received so far, we are saving and tracking all the written comments received. Thank you for your time.
So at this time, we'd like to begin the public comment portion of the meeting. I'd like to encourage those of you who are at a computer, if you would like to make a comment, to either use the raise your hand feature or to comment in the chat. I know we have probably a wide variety of Zoom familiarity on this call, so perhaps we start with those features and then take it from there. I see
Looks like Barbara.
Barbara Dugal. Okay.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Who's the person in the blue shirt? Okay, I've got Judy Press also here with me. And I have several comments, and I'm just going to go through them fairly quickly. My first question is, where can outdoor recreational facilities be located in RD4 zoning per Sacramento zoning code? If this was not a school, would this type of activity be allowed within RD4? When were the lights and the speakers first constructed and placed? Under what authority? And I'm asking that Jesuit or the county or somebody provide all permits, authorizations associated with that activity. And even if there was an NOE, notice of exemption, that needs to be provided. Per the county's development standards, within the zoning, that the height is not to exceed 75 feet. So I don't know how 100-foot, 400-foot light poles would be allowed. What development standards will be used for parking requirements? Under the alternative section, I understand that Hornet Field is available to rent, and the base rate for 8 hours for a nonprofit is between $1,500 and $3,000, and then $50 an hour thereafter. And so I think that needs to be an alternative that the county should analyze. This is going back to 2013 in the chapel comments that I provided. And after I provided comments to the county on that chapel project and it was approved, I heard that the field improvements are going to be going forward, and that I think that we need to make sure that Jesuit is providing an entirety of their proposed projects and not piecemealing, which it appears they've been doing. And then a complete list and the number of activities that needs to be analyzed and provided. There's junior marauders, there's band practice, there's all kinds of activities that are, taking place on the campus and have an impact on the community. Yeah, and other schools. And then I just want to find out if Jesuit, per the county, is in compliance with all of their mitigation measures that are identified in all their permits and authorizations. So hopefully, if anybody couldn't understand me, because I was trying to get through them fairly quickly. And I've got documentations and other information available too on that, if there's any questions.
Okay. No, I think we're busy recording, and
Okay.
luckily the meeting is also being recorded, so we can go back and reference the comments as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
Hey, Barbara, this is Rebecca from the county. Have you been receiving our mailings regarding this project? Are you on the mailing list?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. Excuse me, Judy, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to.
Judy Price is also here with me at my house, and so she also has a comment. If you guys, can
Sure.
you guys still hear us? Okay.
Yeah,
Sure, go ahead, Judy.
I'm just wondering how many acres Jesuit has property. Can you answer that question? Hello.
This is Barbara again. Based on some of my, I've done some, research on this stuff, actually quite a bit. And in January of '61, it appears that Jesuit purchased 21 acres for the school. And then they purchased in September of 1964, 21 acres for the athletic facilities. So it'd be a total of what, 42 acres approximately, give or take?
So the materials that we prepared for this project description describes the project site as the location of the sports facilities. So that area is defined as 20.22 acres in size.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I have a question. I'm just wondering why you're so overdeveloping this small piece of land when there's property available in the county where you could build all kinds of things. Why is it necessary to overdevelop this piece of property in a residential neighborhood, especially a property we have no access to at all? Can't walk through it to sell a brew or anything.
Okay.
Seems overkill.
Okay, we are recording your comments. All right, unless Barbara or Judy have additional comments, we'll move on to the next speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker we have is Cassandra Hoff.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hi, my name is Cassandra Hoff. I oppose the Jesuit project. I'm a homeowner that will be directly impacted by this project. The installation of lights would result in expanded activities on weekday and weekend evenings. As a result, this project would subject the entire neighborhood to additional light pollution, glare, noise, pollution, and crime. There would be less street parking. I'm also concerned a shift in traffic patterns from weekends to weekdays would increase traffic and cause additional air impacts. This project would negatively change the character of the neighborhood. It would disrupt the enjoyment of my residential evenings in my own neighborhood. This proposal simply doesn't fit in with the neighborhood. Thank you. That concludes my comment.
Thank you, Cassandra. It looks like we also have Dana. Let's see. I can't read your full last name in my view here. My apologies, Dana.
That's okay. Thank you. This is Eric Kurzrock, Dana's husband. Dana's sitting
Oh, okay.
next to me. Thank you. A number of comments. First of all, I just wanted to point out that Jesuit is not a neighborhood school. It is a private school with 1,200 students from outside Carmichael area, and most of them, or many of them, are outside Sacramento County that come to the school. So it is a business that charges tuition. We live 3 blocks away, and we hear every football play announced on Friday and Saturday, play-by-play in our backyard, every down, every run, every touchdown on their PA system. If we're on the American River Parkway walking, we hear the play-by-play constantly. I have a question of, are they already violating the sound code as it is? Has anybody ever tested it, and were they permitted for the loudspeakers that they currently have? They also host events and charge for other activities that have nothing to do with Jesuit for money. So they are running a business also. You have anything to add? That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have a raised hand from Gil Schrofer.
Hi, thank you. I have no problem.
Sure.
I'm sorry, can we ask other people on the call to please remain muted? Thank you.
Okay. I'm Gil Schaefer. I have no problem with the high school. However, the Envision lights would make this a regional magnet, like a shopping center. And the amount of traffic and business would change the character of this single family residential neighborhood. And today I looked at lights in the general area at 5 Point Shopping Center. The light posts appear to be 20 feet tall. Arden Way street lights appear to be 40 feet. Rayleigh's at Fair Oaks and Walnut seems to have 27-foot lighting in the parking lot, and Rio Americano parking lot seems to have 20 feet. So the nighttime disruption and traffic would infringe and distort the peace and safety we have. Do you realize how much we pay in Sacramento County property taxes to have this peacefulness? And my question would be, do we really need this Jesuit lighting? But also, this is what we in the neighborhood need. These lights represent an intrusion into our neighborhood and are unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I think that is the last raised hand that I see. Are there others?
I can't.
who-
Yes, I can't raise my hand because I'm on my phone in a meeting. But I'd like to
Okay.
say something.
Okay, go ahead.
I live about a block away on the other side of the football stadium. By the way, I have had good experiences for the last 50 years with the school. I think everybody there is extremely well behaved, and I would like to say I'm in support of the project. And I'd like to get on a mailing list if there is one.
Yes, we definitely have a mailing list. I realize that since you're calling in, it's maybe difficult to see how to reach out to us. Can you, you probably cannot access our chat. We can.
No. If you tell me the website, I'll go to the website and then register.
Perfect. If you wanted to send an email to our CEQA inbox, that's our email inbox. That address is CEQA, that's CEQA at saccounty.gov.
SEQ. Okay. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me edit this. Hold on. I'm so sorry.
No, that's totally fine. So that inbox again is CEQA at saccounty.gov. And that's really pertinent information for everyone on the call. We are accepting comments through that email address for this project. So feel free to use that email.
God, I will send something and I'll get on a list. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Perfect. And thank you for your comments. Do we have other
Can I say
folks?
something?
Sure. Yes. Susie, go for it.
Oh, thank you. One thing that I just want to bring out is this traffic problem that would be created through the additions at Jesuit. It would impact the entire neighborhood, running from Watt Avenue all the way up to Jacob. They've said, Jesuit has said at meetings that there could be as many as 3,000 people coming to some of their evening games. And this would really be a disaster for the neighborhood. American River Drive is a one-way, each way. The traffic lineup, the backup would be tremendous. And it would be very dangerous in the neighborhood, especially in the night, at night. And if somebody's speeding, we have a lot of walkers in our neighborhood. A lot of people walk when it's dark outside. There's some real concerns. And I hope this is looked into thoroughly because there are safety issues involved with this. And there are a lot of side streets off of American River Drive that would cause havoc in the neighborhood after these events. If people were racing around the neighborhood to get ahead of the traffic, that will definitely be on American River Drive.
They said raise your hand or something.
Okay, thank you, Susie, for providing those comments. We are definitely recording those. Do we have other, oh, I see we have another hand raised, Dominique Prime.
Hi, thank you for taking my comments and everyone can hear me okay, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, similar to some of the issues that our neighbors have pointed out, I wanted to illustrate that we're also contending with Rio Americano High School, the traffic that's created in that situation, new lights that they've installed, temporary lights they've installed in their field. And the result of that is, as many of the neighbors are pointing out, an increase in traffic, an increase in foot traffic. but also increase in trash and safety issues and such. So my question is, would there be resources dedicated to perhaps traffic control, policing around like crime and other things that come with large groups? And would there be an increase in like street sweepers to deal with the trash that's created by, the large influx of people? They have, smaller level events currently. And each time those events occur, we're dealing with all of these things. We're dealing with increased traffic. We're dealing with, safety issues. We see that day in and day out with the high school students at Rio Americano and some of the Jesuit traffic that comes through. So to know that that's increasing in the evening, it creates a lot of concerns about safety, about cleanliness. And so, yeah, my question is, would resources be increased to, deal with the after effects of this?
Okay, thank you. I see Catherine has her hand raised. Catherine, are you able to unmute yourself? Perhaps we will come back to Catherine. I see that Mac Carpenter has a hand raised.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. This is just a question, a general question. So I saw a list of the different kinds of environmental categories that we're going to be talking about in this report. Is light pollution in and of itself a defined type of pollution?
We are, I don't know that that is a defined type of pollution. It is definitely a component that is discussed in the aesthetics evaluation. So that will definitely be something that is described and evaluated. I think that, that's something that we would be looking at in the environmental document. I do think that aesthetics can be kind of a gray area, but that is definitely something that will be described moving forward. We would be looking to the applicant to be providing some of the visuals that would assess with that evaluation.
So I assume that's something that's measurable through modeling or something like that. The effect that it can have in it, that those kinds of lights high, that many, that can be measured and included in the EIR?
That's definitely something that we would be looking at the technical studies to address.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sorry, if these answers seem a little vague, it's because at this point in the process, we do not have the technical studies. So I don't actually have data that I can look at to answer the questions more thoroughly at this time. But the purpose of this meeting is really to sort of flesh out what the initial concerns are and then make sure that we address those in the environmental document moving forward.
Okay, thanks. And then, we live less than a block away from the Jesuit campus. And so that's why, along with many of my fellow neighbors, I'm concerned, the light pollution. If there is such a thing as light pollution, it's something that definitely concerns us, along with all the other concerns, the traffic, the biological, that everything else as well, and quality of life issues. Okay, thank you.
Sure, and thank you. Okay, do we, let's try again with Catherine. Are you up? There
Yes,
you go.
I think I fixed the problem.
Got it.
I'm wondering if there's been any discussion when bringing in 2,000 people for an evening event, because I know evening events are more highly attended during high school games, of parking. Should not Jesuit be providing parking for that amount of people and not having them park all throughout the neighborhood in order to access their field? Is that a part of this project? Because I don't know that they can accommodate. I already get school buses parked on my street, blocking my driveway, my ability to get in and out of my driveway. When they're bringing in 2,000 or 3,000 people in the evenings, where are all these people going to park? That's a huge impact on my ability to enjoy my home and getting in and out of my driveway, etc.
Yes, okay.
So I don't know. I've not heard any mention about parking in this whole project.
So traffic is one of the components that we're looking at as part of the environmental impact report. And that does sort of expand into that parking component as well. But we are making notes of all of the concerns that are being expressed here tonight so that we can be sure to make sure we address that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And it looks like, Barbara, do you have your hand raised again?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Because I just want to make sure that, because I went very quickly over my additional comments or things that, I think should be considered. And I wrote it in my comment letter, but, and it has to deal with a complete project description. And I mean, can you tell us, those that are on the phone today, what does their project entail? Like what does it entail?
So the written, oops, my lights went off here. The written notice of preparation that was circulated to folks via snail mail and email included a basic project description.
But I don't see anywhere the types of activities or events or whatever you want to call them. I mean, is the county aware of the Junior Marauders and how often they're at the campus?
We are, and I do think that the applicant is providing that information to us. I might just ask Kimber to weigh in. She's the planner associated with the project.
And can I just say real quickly, some people are making general comments about home values, and that's just causing me a lot of angst. And it's like, we're just here to discuss this. No one needs to be providing that property values are going to go up, property values are going to go down. It's a good neighbor. It's just, that's really not appropriate. I really don't particularly care to see any of that. Do you see what I'm talking about?
I see the comments in the chat. That's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're here to listen to all the comments. Some of the comments are pertinent to the environmental process, which is really what we're trying to focus on in this meeting. Some of these are more about the merits of the project or about general planning concerns. We're making sure that the planning staff working on the project hears those comments so that they can be captured in the materials as well. So
are you capturing the comments that people are making back and forth?
We are, yes. So we do have staff tracking tracking the comments in the chat, and
okay,
and
I didn't realize that was also, I thought that was just, people were just, giving their input as to what their opinion was on something that's, anyways.
No, it's okay. We can't.
Okay, I understand. I apologize if I offended
No,
anybody.
it's okay. And again, because the meeting is being recorded, we'll be able to take a look at all of the comments. So,
Yeah.
those are being captured.
Yeah, and then You know, another area that I touched in on my comment letter is growth inducing impact. And while I understand that, you know, maybe pursuant to CEQA, this really isn't a technically growth inducing, but it is a potential for student population to be increased. And so are you going to be, will the county be looking at that?
That's certainly something that we can consider.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're using this scoping meeting to identify all of the concerns so that we can, you know, sort of sift through them. And
okay, and then the same with environmental justice. You know, I'm not looking at it from maybe the technical or legal definition of environmental justice, but it's, you know, an impact to the people in the neighborhood at you know, whose expense. And so it's not, you know, I don't want it, I'm trying, you know, hopefully the county can, you know, see broader than that. And if the county is not going to look at some of those comments or some of those areas, will someone like me be notified, or will it just be left out of the environmental document and I can comment later? I don't know what to do if, you know, for whatever reason, the county, you know, decides that's not appropriate. Does that make sense?
yes, no, I think I understand what you're saying. We're going to do our best moving forward to be as transparent about this process as possible. And one of the things that we plan to do moving forward is to create a web page on which we can be sharing all of the pieces of this project as it's moving forward and where we are in the process and sort of what's going on. So we'll do our best. We know we have a very active community who very much does want to know what's going on. So
Meg, I did want to just touch on, Barbara, one of your comments from earlier in regards to like frequency of events, number of events, et cetera. So as you guys are probably figuring out, is that, you know, planning and environmental review, we kind of go hand in hand, and we're going to have these processes happening concurrently of each other. So we are, you know, Carol, Meg, Rebecca, and myself are all working together as a team to kind of prepare both the environmental review side and also the planning side. So on the planning side, we will, you know, we do look at, you know, conditions of approval that would be placed on the use permit that could potentially limit the number of events, or, you know, have some sort of other operational conditions of approval that get put on the project from that standpoint, which are different than, you know, say the mitigation measures that would come out of an environmental impact report that would directly be addressing the environmental impacts. So hopefully that helps clarify a little bit, but in regards to like who's using the stadium, all that is going to be all flushed out through both the draft EIR and then also the staff report on the planning side.
And you guys are going to be looking at a no project alternative, right? Would that be part of it too?
yes.
All right. All right. Thank you.
It looks like Renee Yarman has a raised hand.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm curious on the traffic impact and also the environmental impact of that traffic. Currently, we have weekend events and weekday events where visitors to our area are parking and sitting idle in their cars, letting their cars idle for hours while they wait for their events, their children, their family members to come and go from these activities. So I'm wondering what the methodology is for including the impact of those emissions in the environmental studies that are being done to consider the impact to our environment from this project. Also, to reiterate the safety concerns that transpire here, we've been told by local police enforcement in the area that they've been unable to determine or to enforce speeding violations on American River Drive because there haven't been appropriate studies done to determine what the speed should be, and their law enforcement are not empowered with speed guns to even ticket people now. So if we're expecting increased volume in the neighborhood of 3,000 plus people to our neighborhood, you can see where the concern would be from both a pollution perspective, a safety perspective, and just the impact on our property. We have people who are parking in front of our driveways, in front of our homes for hours and hours every day as it is. And now this would be a daily, never-ending occurrence for those of us that live in the local proximity to the school. And I just want to also reiterate the fact that the school is serving as a business. So, you know, they are doing this as to increase profits and revenue to their school. They've made that plain. They've been pretty transparent about that. So I would hope that they would be viewed as a business that is looking to expand in our area and not as a school or a not-for-profit. So that's all I have to say. And I hope that the approval of this project is not a foregone conclusion and that we're just speaking into the ethers here, but that there's still time for consideration to be given. Thank you.
I would just, and thank you for your comment. I would just reiterate that this is the beginning part of the project process, and ultimately environmental and planning staff will be making recommendations to the board for their determination. The final hearing body is going to be the Planning Commission, but at this time, you know, we still don't have technical studies. We have not begun preparing the environmental document. Let's see. I see, is it Eric has his hand raised again?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to follow up on what Renee was talking about. And I was curious, in their current usage permit, are they violating it now? Has that been questioned in terms of the environmental impact? They are, in the last few years, have been hosting more and more events unrelated to school activities, obviously for profit to other entities, such as track meets and other things that are unrelated to the students at their school. So are they violating their current usage permit in relation to environmental impact? I think that needs to be addressed because that tells you something. Second is nobody's representing the American River Parkway, which is only a block or half a block away. And what is the impact to the parkway, which is a cherished resource in the Sacramento area? And the third is the process. You said this ultimately is going to the board. And does that mean despite or possibly with your recommendations or recommendations against, that through political will, this can still go forward, even if you don't recommend it? As that we all are aware that that school has a lot of political power.
Good question.
Or is this more of a non-political thing where you say, hey, it's environmentally not good, we can't do it. It's against the law or regulation. Can the board supersede your recommendations?
I
didn't realize that.
I guess I would just say that environmental staff reviews the project in the preparation of the environmental impact report. And through that document, we would be identifying whether there are environmental impacts and if mitigation is needed moving forward. And then planning staff will be reviewing the project as well and making findings and putting together their recommendations regarding the project. And then all of that information ultimately goes to the planning commission for their consideration of the project. So they definitely weigh the analysis and materials that are prepared by planning and environmental reviews. So they definitely are taking into consideration staff's analysis. They also are considering the other, the CPAC recommendations, the Community Planning Advisory Council's review of the project and their comments. So all of that goes into their ultimate decision.
And just to offer additional clarification, so the Planning Commission for this particular project is the final hearing. However, their decision can be appealed to the Board of Supervisors. So anyone can appeal the Planning Commission's decision. The CPAC can actually authorize an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to the Board of Supervisors, as well as any other third party. So there is that additional kind of caveat to the Planning Commission's final decision of the project. And I think that's all I wanted to add.
Is there precedent where a Board of Supervisors overrides recommendations of the Planning Commission for political reasons? Does that happen?
Yeah, the board can choose to not go with the Planning Commission's recommendation. They would just be making their own decision.
But I would just add that that can go any way. You know, sometimes that's in favor of neighbors, sometimes it's in favor of, you know, the applicant. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I also just want to bring in perspective what 100 feet is. I don't think people realize how tall 100 feet is. That's more than 10 stories. Many more than 10 stories. It's incredibly high.
Okay, it looks like Corey Moore has a raised hand.
Thank you. This is her husband, Sean. I just have a question. We're new to the neighborhood and trying to evaluate this whole thing. And is there a place we can go to get all of the information that's been presented? On the one hand, I'm seeing proposals that there's going to be, you know, events 235 nights a year, and they're going to be, this is all to make money. And I just, is there a place where we can go to see where that information has been presented and where it's coming from? And maybe we've missed a bunch of meetings I don't know about. I don't know, but.
No, this is still very early in the project. And if we all look creepy, it's because our lights have turned out, so I apologize. There it goes. Okay. Right now, the information available about the project is on our Sacramento County Project Viewer webpage. So if you Google Sacramento County Project Viewer and you put in this project control number, which is PLNP2021-00262, that will take you to all of the project materials that have been produced to date. And really, so far, I believe that is just this notice of preparation document that was circulated via mail. So moving forward, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be creating a project webpage that would better enable us to also upload things like this recorded meeting. It's a little bulky for the project viewer platform, but that's kind of where we are right now.
This is Rebecca from the county, and I did put the link to the project viewer in the chat. So if you just click on that, you'll get to the correct webpage.
Thank you.
Set up currently.
It looks like, I've been calling on the people who have raised hands, but I just wanted to take a moment. Are there people who are on the phone who would like to comment, who I haven't been able to call on? Okay, I think most of us are on the computer then. It looks like Catherine, you have a raised hand. perhaps we will come back to Catherine. Barbara, you have a raised hand?
Hi, it's me, Judy Press speaking, and I'm just wondering if your project is rejected, do you have a plan B?
That would be a question for the applicant team, but we will definitely record your comment and make sure that we relay that.
Is there anybody from Jesuit on the call, on the this gathering today? I saw they were on earlier prior to the meeting.
We do have a couple of representatives from the applicant team here. I don't know if they wish to address that question.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah. No, there are a couple folks here to listen into the comments.
You know, and this is Barbara speaking again. In regards to any studies that are going forward, how will the county be determining who will be conducting those studies? Will it be the county hiring consultants, or, you know, how does the county see that part of this project review moving forward?
So typically when we have private applicants who are moving forward with or who are submitting projects, we ask them to contract with consultants and for their consultants to provide those materials to us for review. And then upon review of those technical studies, if we have questions or we need additional information, we coordinate with their team to obtain that information. So we will be reviewing all of the technical studies that are prepared.
Do you have a list of consultants who you are, you know, that you've been satisfied with their work that's been provided to Jesuit, or they get to pick their own? You know, how does that consultant review process happen?
So we don't actually maintain a list of qualified consultants. That's not something that we really typically do. It puts us in a position where, well, it's a lot of work to maintain that type of list, and we don't want to be in a position where we're only supporting certain individuals. No, we don't have that available, but we do review all of the materials, and if we have questions about certain aspects of a technical study, we can always reach out to other county departments for assistance, or you know, have materials peer reviewed if need be.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I see that Molly Nelson has a raised hand.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I'd just like to say I had two sons. My husband and I live on Jacob Lane, and we had two sons that went to high school there and played football, and they graduated 4 and 6 years ago. But I disagree that this is for financial reasons and it's a stadium environment, because it's a local high school. I know Rio's in the same position where they've been trying to get lights. It makes a big difference to the kids to have a chance to play a Friday night football game under the lights. The games aren't going to go on forever. The football season is just in the fall when there's not enough light in the sky. And I don't think that we're going to see 250 events with big lights booming all over the neighborhood. And we also, during events, there's no increased traffic on the levee. We live down by the levee entrance, and I've never seen a occasion at Jesuit where these people come down Jacob Lane to park. Most of the events that are going to be there are during the day, such as the field and track events, the flag football team. So I just don't think this is going to be a huge impact on our wonderful neighborhood.
Thank you for your comment. I see Eric with a raised hand. And I guess just a reminder for those of us who are not speaking to please try to remain on mute. Thank you. Eric, did you have a comment? Okay. It looks like, well, I'm not seeing any additional raised hands. Does anyone else have additional comments that you'd like us to record in this meeting? Corey.
Not necessarily comment. I just wanted to ask, there were some recent noise studies that I understood. Will that information, I assume that's part of what you're doing, but is that information available and made public?
I don't believe we've received the noise studies yet, but they were working on them.
Thank you very much.
Sure. All right. Well, unless there are additional comments, that concludes our scoping meeting tonight. I do want to thank everyone. Oh, I see one more comment. Heidi.
I had to unmute. Hello, I'm Heidi Goodman. And like Molly was saying, she lives on Jacob. I live off of Jacob on Paisley Way. And I am a neighbor who is against the lighting for numerous reasons. It isn't simply the light, it is the noise factor that we experience currently when there is a game. The public address system has been increased, and the volume on the weekends when a game is played is heard in our backyard, and I find it disruptive. The noise is simply one factor. There is also additional traffic on Jacob and on American River Drive. And cars not only have the ability to park in Jesuit's parking lot, but they park on American River Drive and on Jacob and on Tennyson and other surrounding streets that are basically across from the high school. And you find that people, we don't have technically a crosswalk at the gate entrance. So people are walking across the street, not at an intersection that has a stop sign associated with it. And the concern is with the fact that there will be lights, it will be nighttime, and people darting in and out of side streets because they have parked out of the Jesuit High School parking lot.
I'm her husband, David. There's also another issue here. Molly spoke of around 250 events. I've also seen that perspective list. The school is obviously going to be co-ed in a couple of years. That 250 is not going to apply. We're talking about a huge number of cars, huge number of people. And I think we ought to really be aware of that. It's not just 250 events, Molly. It's really a lot more than
that. And lastly, it is the impact, because I was a high school student at one time. I attended El Camino, and yes, there were lights in that stadium. But when a game gets over at 10 o'clock, it generally, the impact dwindles between 10 and 11 and 11:30. And who is going to be responsible for monitoring the impact of kids and folks that have attended the game? It's a high school. I don't anticipate there will be alcohol, but I am.
There will be alcohol. There will be alcohol.
But I'm just anticipating who is going to be responsible for the possibility of delinquency. And when my husband broke in, it broke my thought. I'm not as young as I used to be. Just give me a minute to find my.
I don't know if this, we were late addressing this, I'm her husband. And the Jesuit has existed, we've been here for 22 years. Jesuit has done just fine. Why can't they continue doing what they're doing? Maybe this is addressed before we were on. What's so magic about it? They're going to night games. That's all I would say.
We do appreciate the fact that this technology allows us to speak our piece, and we appreciate your time and your input, and we just are looking forward to seeing what comes out of the environmental impact report. And then if you could just briefly tell us what will be our ability to review it and to add additional input based on what your findings are.
Sure. So basically, at the conclusion of once the draft environmental impact report is prepared, the public is afforded 45 days to review and comment on that environmental impact report. We are planning on having a public meeting to review the draft environmental impact report. We've been encouraging everybody to make sure to let us know if you're not already on our mailing list, to please share your information so that you can be added to the mailing list, whether that's a physical mailing list or an email, because that's how we plan to let folks know that the environmental impact report is ready for review. And so that's really the path forward. Once that document has been prepared, it will be circulated to folks.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure. And thank you for participating.
Mm-hmm.
I see, Barbara, you have your hand raised.
It's me, Judy, again.
Oh,
I just wanted
sorry,
to make,
Judy.
I just wanted to comment. Somebody talked about people crossing in the middle of the street, and I've seen that when I'm driving my dog in the morning, that people do cross there. There is no crosswalk, so maybe they should designate a crosswalk, or cross at the corners, go down. Oh, and also another question, I've heard rumors and students talking that in 2 years, Jesuit will go co-ed. And is that true or not? That's it.
Okay. And I do not have an answer for you, so I will write down your comment and your question.
Yeah, but they need to do something about the kids crossing in the middle of the street. That is so hazardous, especially when it's dark out. It's very hard to see. And the track teams out there, I see them all the time. And I'm glad they're running track. I like track. I used to be a runner, but crossing in the middle of the street in the dark is a bad idea. That's it.
All right.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
reiterate, it's Barbara again, sorry, to reiterate that rumor, quote unquote, about going co-ed is pretty prevalent. So,
Okay.
so it's something that should be either, explained or squashed, or because the neighbors, it comes up in a lot of discussions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Do we have any other participants who would like to comment? And if not, I guess I'll just ask our team really quickly. Does anyone from the county team have any additional comments or items to share?
So Meg, I think I saw a comment in the chat or a question asking if there's a traffic study being prepared.
I cannot recall offhand. Kimber, do you recall if we had discussed a traffic study? I think we were looking at a vehicle miles traveled study to look at basically people who were coming to the school for games. But I can reach out to basically when these projects come in, the project applications are circulated to the various county departments for their review as well. And we can just check in with our Department of Transportation regarding the traffic study piece and get them to weigh in on that front. So we'll have them take a look. All right. Well, unless there are other comments, I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to join tonight's meeting to hear more about the project. And I encourage you, if you have any questions or if you do have comments along the way, to feel free to reach out. Again, probably the best email address to use is CEQA, that's CEQA @saccounty.gov, and that's an inbox that our environmental team can all access. So we'll be keeping an eye out for your comments, and we will also be creating a project webpage moving forward, on which we will be posting all of the public meetings that we record and project materials moving forward. And we will be using that to keep everyone informed of where we are in the project process. So thank you for your time, and have a good evening.